Adrian is one of two Democrats fighting for the party's nomination in Arizona's Secretary of State race. He joins me now. Adrian, how do you restore faith in the elections process, right? I mean, I think that is when you zoom out and look at what is plaguing our democracy, big picture, that is a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. But I think you do your job. You call balls and strikes, and you be the reliable public servant that folks want you to be. That's what I did as Maricopa County Recorder. The 2020 Maricopa County election system was one that was designed under my administration by my team in partnership with the Board of Supervisors, and we knocked it out of the park. Folks understand now, after countless audits, countless court cases and all that stuff, we did our job. And when you've got a record like that to stand on, that's tough to compete against. The truth will prevail. And if we don't believe that, then, why are we doing this, right?
Adrian, you told Rolling Stone you had moments during the 2020 election where you thought you might need to draw on your training as a former Marine. How did seeing an onslaught against Democratic norms in the last election influence your decision to run this time?
Well, we did draw on the training that I had. We planned out the way that parking lot you're showing now was going to look, where we put the barriers in conjunction with the rest of the geography of the parking lot. So we were defending a forward post, if you will, against an actual armed invasion. But as far as the rest of it goes, look, Arizona's voters, just like the rest of the voters in the United States of America, are slowly but surely coming around. I think that folks are just sick and tired of the uncertainty, of the weirdness, of the conspiracies. They want someone that they can rely on. They want someone who they know is going to have integrity and honor and tell the truth, win or lose. And that's the candidate that I present. And I think that's what America's voters really want.
If elected, you would be the first Latino Secretary of State in Arizona. Advocates have, of course, been sounding the alarm on voting restrictions in your state and how they keep Latino voters specifically from accessing ballots. Is that a fear you hear on the ground?
Absolutely. Maricopa County was notorious for not treating all of our voters equally until I got into office. That's one of the reasons why we ended up registering 500,000 more voters in just 4 years when I was county recorder. It's another reason why we had 600,000 more ballots cast between 2016 and 2020 here in Arizona. And you remember what the margins were. We opened up access to all voters, all citizens who were eligible to vote. We did it effectively, and we did it in a global pandemic. We had a killer team that was out there, a bipartisan team that folks trusted and trusted well. And I know that there's plenty of Republicans and plenty of independents who understand the work that we did. And I'm confident that we will see all of those folks come together again as we move forward. We just have to present that solid front of fact-knowing Americans and people who just don't believe in the big lie. And that's the majority of us. We have to stick together behind reliable leadership, and that's what I'm presenting to the state.
Speaking of reliable leadership, Saturday, Arizona's Democratic Party censured Senator Sen Cinema for her vote against changing the filibuster for voting rights. Do you support that move?
Absolutely. I was calling for the end of the filibuster, particularly as to voting rights, when I stood with a lot of veterans out at my fellow veterans out at the state capitol many months ago. I think Senator Cinema is dead wrong. I think she's focusing on her own political future instead of focusing on the job at hand. I, unlike Senator Cinema, focused on the job at hand, and it cost me politically, but I sleep really well at night. I don't think Senator Cinema can say the same.
I have to ask you, when I hear about everything that you and your family went through, this idea of having to go back, the idea of having to send your children out in case there is a threat, I think there are a lot of people who are going to watch and say, why do you want to do this? Why is it worth it?
Well, because it's worth it, because this is America, because our democracy is that shining city on the hill, because we care, it matters, and countless generations before us have made sacrifices. And I'm not so comfortable in the way that we live that I'm not going to go ahead and take on the risks, take on the responsibilities of leadership. It's important that we have folks who not only understand the systems well, but who have done the job and are ready on day one. That's why I'm running for Arizona Secretary of State. This old Marine once swore to give this country a blank check payable on his life. And now I guess I have to do the same because we've got to protect the same democracy. It's just in a different uniform, I suppose.